안녕하세요. 행복한 인생과 함께하는 강지연의 100세 강지연입니다. 한 병의 와인 안에는 아름다운 자연과 또 깊은 철학이 고스란히 담겨 있다고 합니다. 오늘은 조지아 타이거 마운틴에 위치한 배를 이어 운영되고 있는 와이너리를 찾아왔습니다. Hi, Lisa.
안녕하세요.
How are you?
Jian, I'm doing great. Welcome to Tiger Mountain Vineyards. I'm so happy to see you.
Thank you for inviting us.
This is really fun. I'm so looking forward to showing you our family farm, Tiger Mountain, all of our beautiful wines. It's going to be a really fun little journey we have together today.
It sounds great.
Perfect. Let's get going.
Okay.
My name is Lisa Ezzard, and I'm 6th generation on Tiger Mountain Vineyards. My father was born here. It used to be a creamery. Well, I was initially a teacher by profession, and I was on the West Coast. But both of my parents, who are deep Southerners, and my father, who was born here, decided to come back to this farm, save the family farm, and grow fine wine grapes. Wine was not really being grown around here, fine wine, until my father came and in 1995 started growing European-style vinifera. And because he's a doctor by profession, farmer at heart, this is where his great true love and joy lies. So it is a very, very sacred place. Because I am 6th generation, I know in America, I know other places in the world this isn't so rare, but in America it's pretty rare to know the 6 generations back from your ancestry. So we all have that great pull of our ancestors here on the land. So more than anything, it's the beauty of our ancestral land. My father, who came back to the land that he was born on and started what everyone thought was a crazy idea, which was fine wine growing in the southeast, in the northeast Georgia Appalachians. And so I eventually moved back here and learned everything I know from my daddy. So Jian, when you go to do a wine tasting, I'm introducing you to our petit manseng. And the first thing you're going to do is give it a great big swirl.
Why do you shake it? Lisa, why do you shake it?
So what you're trying to do is get some oxygen into the wine, and that's going to release all those beautiful aromas. And then you want to put your nose down in there. So really give it a big smell, because something like 75% of your experience is what you smell. So you go like this. What do you smell? It smells kind of sweet. Maybe some green apple. Maybe some pear.
Apple and pear.
Apple and pear.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you're going to give it a little and roll it around in your mouth. And so then what you call the end notes are going to be really citrus. And you'll taste a lot of like grapefruit, sort of lemon lime a little bit. But in the front, you call the front of the palate, it's sweet. So it's a little bit sweet in the front, and then it gets citric on the end notes. Did you kind of get that?
I love it.
Oh, good. Cheers.
Cheers. Ooh.
So this is our crusher destemmer. And so when you have harvest time, you put the grapes in here and it's gonna shoot out all the stems. And then you're gonna put all of your red wines in the vats and you're gonna leave them on the skin for like 10 days to 2 weeks. And they get all their color from the skin itself. And the skins float to the top. So you have to keep pushing down the cap. So it's a lot of work, but, and you also have to, you can die from the off gassing when you're fermenting. So you have to have totally open air, you have to have a lot of ventilation because your wine is off gassing during fermentation. And then with the whites, we bring them in, you crush, you destem, and then they go straight into the press. They don't stay on the skin. So there's a bladder inside of this, and you fill it, and it pushes the grapes out and squeezes the skins and the grapes so that you just have the juice coming out through the press. And then you're going to ferment the juice off the skins for your whites. And then rosé, you just keep you're using a red grape, but you just crush and destem and then you go straight to the press. So it just sits on the skins for a very brief moment to get that little pink color. So that's how we're processing our wine. Yeah. When we go next door, I can give you a taste of our last harvest for 2019. Yeah. That's Hamilton
Hamilton.
and Lucy.
Lucy. 리사, 여기는 어떤 방이에요? What is this room?
So this is our processing room, and these are all filled with wine, and they're filled with 2019 wine. So it's going to go through one more winter. But I want you to taste this because I'm going to bottle this next week. This is our Malbec 2018.
나 이거 지금 마셔보는 거예요. 네.
So this is a wine thief, and so you can give me your glass. Okay.
이거 완전 실험실 같아요. It's like a lab.
Yeah.
Laboratory.
Cheers.
Cheers.
This is Malbec.
Malbec.
So you swirl.
굉장히 약간 신선한 맛이 나요. It tastes like fresh grapes.
There's a lot of grapes.
아,
A little bit of maybe raspberry.
raspberry.
A little bit. And then I want to let you taste. That was 2018, so I should let you taste. Just a second. You can stay there.
Okay.
This is 2019.
2019.
So it's still young.
Oh, yes.
It's still kind of green.
애기
But-
와인들.
Yeah.
저거 마시려면 이거 다 마셔야 될 텐데.
Oh, you can just pour that down. You can. Okay. So this is 2019.
Okay.
You will taste blueberries, but it's still kind of green. It's still young.
Yes. Yes.
So
it tastes young.
one more year in the barrel.
Okay.
So my father always believed that if you could grow good grapes, you would just naturally have good wine. So we try to keep it as simple and natural as possible. And definitely we use the old world style winemaking. So we have open vat fermentation. I can show you what that is. We're not in great big stainless steel tanks, and we're pushing down the caps while everything's fermenting. All of our red wines go in the barrel for 2 years of aging, and we don't mess with it very much. The big hope is that we have a beautiful crop and that those grapes will speak for themselves. So it's actually been quite a challenge here in Georgia. The biggest thing has been that there's a stigma here in Georgia. It's sweet wine, it's muscadine, it's moonshine. So this was like the hot spot for running moonshine back in the day. And then also everyone has just assumed and usually comes to a winery to make sweet wine. And so we've had to kind of pioneer that. Well, no, we actually make fine old world style dry wines. And it's kind of taken off, I would say, over the last 10 years. I don't know if you've been to Dahlonega, but that whole area has really blossomed, and there really are quite a number of people now starting to make fine old world dry wines in Georgia. So it's definitely a lifestyle, and it's an incredible amount of work. You know, it's humbling. Even before I started working in the vineyard, I had no idea, because you've only got one crop a year. And so you're pruning it, you're training it, you're loving it, you're harvesting your grapes, and then you're gonna ferment and crush and all of that bit, and then 2 more years, you're loving your wine in the barrel, the red wines, and then probably after bottling, you're gonna lay it down for ideally 3 to 6 months. So you're looking at 3.5 years before you have product. So, and even though there is a lot of work that goes into it, it's always just an amazing, amazing experience. Every year, I call it poetry in a bottle, because you never know. This is just the season. You never know what it's going to bring you. And so every year, and they call it a vintage, but each vintage, oh, that was the year 2020. You know, what was a good year? What was a bad year? When was, let's say, this had a lot of pear on it last year in terms of its notes, or a lot of crisp green apple. That's all just from the sun, rain, moon, stars, from the season and the weather. And so that part of it is really beautiful. It's also beautiful to provide something for people that always makes people happy. So everyone who walks into our winery is happy, and we share stories, and sharing wine is just a beautiful old tradition. Mm-hmm. Since that's happening to me right now. You know, I think that, again, it's the surprise of an aging a bottle of wine. Like I could get a 1999, which is our first bottling, and it could be absolutely fantastic, or you could open it up and it's not good anymore. And so I think it's a humbling thing, aging. The hope is that for me, the lifestyle of being outdoors, I'm outdoors all day, every day, and that just feels so healthy. I'm walking the vines, I'm with vines and birds and fresh air, and you know, harvest is a primal thing. There's a huge joy in harvesting fruit. So that it's a lifestyle of living with the seasons and being intimate with nature, which I love. Yeah. Wine is, again, a product of nurturing the land. It's a joy to share with the community, and it's an art. Making wine is an art, for sure. I want to share a couple of things. The first thing is a grape called the Petit Manseng. My father pioneered bringing this grape into Georgia, and it's not very well known. It grows up against the Pyrenees in France, in southern France, and it has become a Georgia classic because it loves this terroir. And I'm sure you know, but we live in a rainforest. So there are a lot of things in Georgia you can't grow. You can't grow Zinfandel. You can't grow Cabernet Sauvignon, even though some people are growing it. I haven't tasted any good in Georgia. You can't grow Chardonnay. But there are things. My father worked really hard finding grapes that can grow in this climate. So when it's gray and rainy and cloudy, it has rained a lot the last couple weeks. This grape is going to continue to just thrive. The sugars are going to climb even if it's gray and cloudy. We actually even make a dessert wine with this grape because the sugars just keep on climbing. We have gotten many awards in California for this wine. Every year we get awards. One of my favorites is the Jefferson Cup. It's invitation only, so we were invited, and this is the best wine of all wines. It's not just a gold or a double gold, but of all the wines they tasted, this is the favorite. So this is one of my favorite awards that we've received. But a little bit about my mom. My mom is a AAA character. So she was a senator, she ran for US Senate, she ran for Congress, she was a lawyer, she raised 3 children, and she most recently, her real profession is a journalist, and she was an editor for the Atlanta Constitution. And she eventually gave up her profession to come and save a family farm that was my father's family farm. And so she wrote a book about it. It's called The Second Bud. And she got Best Writer of Georgia, Author of the Year, 2014. But it's the second bud happens when you have a really, really cold spring. It's something we pray not to have, because you'll have bud break and you'll have all these tiny little bundles and these beautiful buds, and then boom, it freezes and it's like wilted lettuce, and you've probably lost your crop. But a lot of vines will have a second bud, so they'll come back around, and they may or may not bear fruit. So this is kind of the second bud. In their 60s, my mother and father are starting a whole new life, a whole new career as wine makers and growers and producers. So it's hard. Right now, we're really in a dilemma because we lost my father, which was really he was a very big person, and we lost him. This is going on our 3rd year. And so my mom is going to be 82, and she's still, she's a fighter, but it's getting really, really hard for her to manage. And then for that generation to let go of their baby for the next generation to come in is also a challenge. So there are a lot of challenges to keep, as I think with so many families across the nation, to keep a family farm continuing. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there's a family.
여기는 어떤 곳이에요?
So this is Cabernet Franc, and
It's
usu-
Cabernet?
It's Cabernet.
Oh.
And usually the bundles are pretty small, but as you can see, there are lots of them as we move along.
와.
But they haven't started turning purple yet. We call that veraison. So it's kind of late this year because we had a blackberry winter. In May, it got really cold. It got below 0. And so the grapes are kind of late turning purple and starting to ripen. So we'll probably have a late harvest this year. But as you can see, these bundles are pretty small. That's the Cabernet. And then over here is Malbec. And so these bundles, as you can see, are a little bit bigger.
Oh, it's Malbec.
This is Malbec. And so those are going to turn purple and they're going to start ripening.
질문이 있어요. 사실은 조지아는 와인에 그렇게 유명한 주는 아니고 사실 핫스팟은 캘리포니아란 말이에요. 그런데 여기 조지아에서만 나는 특별한 포도가 있나요?
Oh, that's an interesting question. So Cabernet Franc grows really well here. Cabernet Sauvignon, California. But we grow a Portuguese grape. It's called Touriga Nacional. And we have some up in the further rows up there. And that's a Portuguese grape that I don't think they grow very much on the West Coast. We also have a grape called the Tannat. And that's a southern French growing grape. Again, Tannat.
Oh.
That isn't grown so much in California. And then the Petit Manseng that you tasted in the tasting room.
Okay.
That doesn't, I don't think they're growing in California. So it's a very different climate. In fact, I took a class in California on wine growing and I quit after like 2 weeks.
Why?
Because all they talked about was irrigation.
Oh.
And I was like, we don't have irrigation. Like every day I pray, please don't rain, please don't rain. So we don't even have irrigation. And that's their first concern in California because you know it's so dry.
Right.
And then the second thing is the canopy. Like you see how much, I mean, green. In California, you know, you might have your vine growing really low.
Real low, right.
And one arm. So we have 4 arms. So this is a double curtain. So you have a trunk. Sorry, you have a trunk, and then you have 4 arms.
Oh.
Because it's so rigorous and everything grows so fast and so furious. And we just have so much canopy all the time.
It's canopy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And these are babies. These are the first year.
It's first year.
I just planted these.
Okay, how about this?
These are,
Over 10 years?
some of these are like, that is from my father's first planting, 1999.
Wow.
So it's like 20, you know, what,
진짜
20 years
유구한
old.
역사가
Well, no,
있는
1995.
포도구나. 1995.
Yeah, so it's about 25 years old. And you can see how old this trunk is.
Yes, I can see.
And this is a new trunk. So you can start a new trunk.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that's about a 25-year-old vine right there. Yeah.
So, 25년 된 나무랑 한 5년 된 나무가 주는 포도가 달라요?
Yeah, so the legend is, at least, I don't know if it's really true, but the older the vine, the more beautiful
Older.
the grapes.
Oh.
So the older the vine is, the more of a quality grape you're going to have. But you'll have less because as it gets older, you're going to have more and more space between your shoots, so you have less and less bundles.
Oh, it sounds like it's aging gracefully.
Yes. They do. They age pretty gracefully, these vines. Yeah. Well, when I first came back from California, I didn't know, my father was just starting, his health was just starting to ail. But it was the last year that he was up with the sun, down with the sun, and able to be out in the vineyards. And so we spent the whole year, all 4 seasons together. And a lot of days we would just be entirely quiet the whole time, and I would just be watching him and following him in the vineyards. And so in particular with his loss, I've realized I kind of am him. I have the true same love that he has for this land. So. We're gonna go down the hill. With these are Concord grapes. So let's see if I can show you some. So these, I don't know if you can see, these are going to turn purple as well, but these are my grandfather's. So this is like, these are ancient. These are like 50-year-old vines, and you can eat them, but they're best if you make jelly. So we make Concord grape jelly, or you can make a raspberry grape jelly. It's really good. Do you like jelly?
Yes, I love it.
So you should come up and pick some Concord grapes. It's really fun to make. We have a big wine club membership. I think we have like 1,500 to 2,000 wine club members, and we have 2 really big, amazing events every year for them. One of them is the Awakening of the Vines, and we get all of the old trimmings from the previous year. We have this huge bonfire, and the Abominable Seed and Feed Band from Atlanta, they come out and they parade through the vineyards, and they wear crazy outfits and grapes and colors, and they play music. And we have a great big festival on the knoll. The other thing we do is we have a big harvest party where all of our wine club members come out and harvest with us for the morning. And then we go up and we celebrate with fine food and wine. But for just everyday people coming in, we have usually a full wine tasting. Our Red Barn Cafe, people can go and enjoy food looking out over the vineyards. We have right now with COVID, we're just having music outside every Saturday. So you can grab either a wine flight or a bottle of wine. You can bring a picnic. You can go up and look out over the beautiful vineyards and the mountain, and you can enjoy some fun music. So.
Thank you for inviting us.
It was my pleasure. So wonderful to share Tiger Mountain Vineyards with you. I hope you all can come back, and we so welcome all the Korean people living in Atlanta. I know it's about a 2-hour drive, but there's so many things to discover up here aside from Tiger Mountain. But please know that you are always welcome here.
Okay, we had such a great time, and I hope you did as well.
We did. Thank you. I did. So did the dogs.